I would like to welcome everybody to the Overcoming Challenges of Life podcast, episode 1, intro. So, in this first podcast, I will just be explaining to everybody about, a little bit about myself, and in keeping with consistency with my uploads of the podcast. So, a little bit about myself. I was born with many challenges, as many of you all have your own challenges. My challenges are being born with cerebral palsy, narcolepsy, and other conditions that really make an impact on my life, and I have to constantly readjust myself, bring myself back into alignment with my attitude, because sometimes having these conditions can really cause me to get frustrated and angry, and that's why it's good to have outlets. So by being born with cerebral palsy, I've had to overcome a lot of challenges in life, and dealing with this for most of my life, I didn't really know how to approach it in a positive direction, because for the majority of my life, I was just like, you know what? Everything's so dark and gloomy. Screw life. Screw even trying, And I think a lot of people out there understand how I feel. And I think I understand how a lot of other people feel. In this podcast, I'm going to be talking about health issues, life, topics, rants, just anything that comes across my mind. I will try to make sure to have some consistency as much as possible when it comes to this podcast. This is my first time really going at it from a next level of recording, because I recently got a mixing board, some microphones, and a bunch of other equipment so that I'm able to run this podcast successfully. Also in this podcast, I will be having guests from time to time, and there will be other times where it will just be myself. And I think by putting this podcast out there, it's going to help other people realize that they should put out their what their thoughts are and different topics that come across in their mind. One thing I will really work on very hard is keeping that consistency in the topics that where I'm at in talking about things. So I do have an Instagram, and I do have a YouTube channel that I'm continuing to upload on. But for the most part, I really want to be consistent with this. And let me give you guys all an example about how important consistency is. In my life with narcolepsy, it is important to keep a structure. And my doctors have all told me that consistency in awake time, sleep time is really super important. So what I've been trying to do is structure my body to be like, hey, it's time to go to bed, man. But I have to do more stuff. No, it's time to go to bed. You can always do it tomorrow. I think that's helping with my consistency. I think overall, that's an important thing to think about, is structure. I think with anything in life, with anybody's health conditions, it's about structure and it's about consistency. And lately I've seen a lot of people around me that just blow smoke up my behind, and they're not consistent. And a really good friend of mine, really good friend, and I hope to have him on the podcast someday in the future. He always tells me how it's not good to cancel at the last minute. It's always good to let someone know ahead of time about things instead of the day of. Because I've done that in the past. Man, I've driven this friend of mine absolutely insane. sane when it comes to me just dropping things at the drop of a hat. Like, someone hits me up and I'm like, well, it's a chick, so sorry, dude, but and then guess what happens? Come on, everybody knows what's going to happen here. Everybody knows this answer. They cancel on me. They cancel on me. So what is the universe telling me? Stop being flaky. And that's the biggest thing that my friend constantly tries to show me and tell me. Consistency is important. It makes a difference. And he's right. He is so right. And now that I've constantly worked on that and how I see people flaking around me, it really boils my freaking boiling point. It really irks me. Because I've stopped with that. And that will definitely come back to those people in the universe. They'll realize you can't do that. You just, I don't know. I don't want to go too much into it, but I was just going to light this microphone up when I came home today from being out and about because it really, really angered me. But you know what? Life honestly goes on, I guess. It really does. But yeah, staying consistent is really important. Sticking with the plans. And here's the thing. I'm not perfect. I'm not having narcolepsy. I have my issues, but even with those health conditions, I try my best. I really do. I try my best to honestly come across in a professional manner as much as possible. And I think this friend of mine has shown me so much about life, how to be the best man you can be, how to be the best person you can be, because all the people around you, they see that. They pay attention to that. They understand how important it is. It's a work in progress. And the old me would have flipped out totally, went rage in my car. Not rage against the machine, raging in my car. But the me now is very much against that. Even though default in my brain says, you know what? I really want to flip out right now. I really want to lose my shit. And I guess that's just a sign of me growing up, maturing. I mean, I'm 35 and feels like I've just started living my life. And I'll go into that in a second and after I'm done with this topic. So the old me would have just raged because deep down inside, I definitely have some anger issues. But that's why I think there are healthy outlets. And I think the world needs to understand those outlets and how to really show the world what they can do, what they can do with their life, and understand that there are really good ways of letting out your anger, your frustrations, and there are stupid, moronic, idiotic ways of releasing that. Just turn on your TV. You'll see that shit for days. People spinning one story one direction and then another people spinning it another direction. And it's like they're talking about the same story. They're just twisting it. And that causes rage and anger. And I guess that's our human brains. At least some of us. At least some of us choose to put that anger and frustration out in that direction. There are so many things that I could say about what's going on in the world, but I don't really want to focus on that right now. I want to focus on the things I can control that are within my grasp, my life. Because, you know what? I have a lot of challenges. I have a lot of challenges on my hand. And so do we all. And I think if we just choose to allow ourselves to use that anger and the frustration in more healthy ways, this world and everything else would be such in a better place, in a much better place than they are now. Things are so screwed up. Things get twisted and turned. And then the anger comes right back. You know, this whole thing is so crazy about everything that's in the world. The sickness that happened this past year. All the stuff with all these politicians and issues. I'm going to tell you right now, any topics that I talk about, I only know as much as I know. And I'm coming from this from my point of view. You know, I'm not a political science major. I'm not someone that graduated with a political science degree. But I will tell you this. It's so screwed up out there. You have too many different messages focusing on division, negativity. What does that brew? Anger. How is that anger released? Well, I'll tell you this. In many stupid ways. Stupidity. I'm going to say this once on my very first podcast. What happened at the big house that is ivory in color was stupid. And that's my opinion. Everybody can also have their own opinion, but my opinion is that was stupid. That's not how you get things done. That was done by morons. Idiots. Less intelligence than a potato. That is not how you take out your anger. You know, and this guy, I'll tell you a little thing. When I used to get angry, I used to want to throw something out my front window and shatter the window in my place. But did I? No. Because if I would have done that, I would have been like, oh, man, I now have to pay to get that window fixed. And what would have that done? That would have increased my anger and frustration that I already had. I mean, come on. Common sense. Destruction of property, you morons. You dumb-witted, less intelligent potato heads. That frustrates me. And then the media has to come along on both sides, in both corners, on both the farthest corner of the spectrum to the leftist spectrum of life. Both sides are screwed up. They're both screwed up. Just being honest with you. There are some really bad apples in the world. There really are. And the media just feeds into it. And just generates the machine of life. Like, oh yeah, this happened today. Oh yeah, a bunch of people killed a bunch of people and they're from a different race. And, yeah, show that on TV. Good. Keep showing it. Yeah, not just once or twice. No, that shit is on repeat. But I don't watch it. I watch it once. And I'm like, oh, that happened today. We're still in an uncivilized world, just like we kind of were back in caveman days. Me, caveman, me, to cross this line into someone else's land. Oh, done, dead. It's like we're never going to ever be in a place in life where things are relatively calm. I mean, our history shows us that. And like I said, I'm not the smartest cookie in the cookie jar. I'm not. I only know so much. And you may not agree with me on this topic, but you know what? That is my point of view. And you can disagree with me. That's fine. But do it in a healthy way. Seriously. Just think about it. So the other thing I really want to do on this first podcast is also talk about how Medtronic, a wonderful medical company, changed my life, allowed me to speak the way I speak now, allowed me to see a different point of view rather than the world's just shitty. Everything's shitty. No, not anymore. Not thanks to Medtronic. I got the Medtronic SynchroMed 2 pump, which I received the surgery in October of 2015, which, wow, looking back, I was a different person before. And that device allowed me to sit calmly where my body isn't freaking out as much, where I'm not in pain as much. So I'm so thankful for that medical device. So thankful. I mean, everybody that works for Medtronic, man, they are an amazing bunch. From different backgrounds, different like genders, different all across the board. And yet they come to work knowing the mission, knowing their history, knowing where they are going and what they are doing in someone else's life. Fantastic. So I have to give it up for a lot of people that go into the medical engineering field and the field just in medical in general. It takes so long to achieve what these people have achieved. And yet they don't get the praise as much as they deserve. Well, I'm telling you right now, I am thankful. I am very thankful for these people. These people have definitely made a huge impact on my life. You know, and I wish there was a device out there that would completely help with my narcolepsy too. But you never know what the future holds. There's inventions that happen all the time that make differences in people's lives. I mean, just the medical device field is amazing. So that's why I am the way I am. That's why I'm able to speak the way I can speak. That's the way I am able to gather my thoughts as best as I can right now in the healthiest way possible. You know, I think that these are important things that we all should realize. Look at the world around us and just be thankful and grateful for everything you have, because there are people out there that have less. The world is just a really unpredictable place. And that's why one of my outlets is art and writing and now doing podcast. So I think that's really good. And overall, this is something that I'm going to keep consistent, and my podcasts are going to be an average of 30 minutes to an hour long, because that's pretty much, I think, healthy for me to keep a track of what I'm talking about and what I have spoke about.